One of the key contenders for Indonesia's presidency has fleshed out his policy platform. Aburizal Bakrie is so far the only politician to announce his candidacy for next year's race. The business tycoon is pitching himself as the man who will make the changes needed to push Indonesia's economic growth. But he's also articulated the protectionist stance he believes the country should maintain. Indonesia correspondent Helen Brown reports.
Indonesia has what it takes to become a superpower, and according to this man, he can make it happen. Aburizal Bakrie announced his candidacy last year. He's the chairman of the country's biggest party, Golkar, and his political links stretch back to the Suharto era. He's also the patriarch of a family empire that spans several industries. And this public speech is part of a busy campaign agenda.
My fellow brothers and sisters, the first pillar of our successful development is a high economic growth.
Indonesia's posting strong growth of more than 6% gross domestic product. Aburizal Bakrie is one of several prominent Indonesians who says it should be higher at 8%. And he's long talked of building up the nation's poor infrastructure to do it.
In terms of his policies, it's very clear that he is very much focused on rebuilding Indonesia's infrastructure. In fact, you can call him a one-issue candidate. That's very, very important for him.
But Aburizal Bakrie, like many others, says it's time to put resources back in Indonesian hands. And that attitude could have an impact on international investors, such as the French oil company Total.
We have to say we will respect the sanctity of contract. But once the contract has finished, why should we need to extend it?
Aburizal Bakrie does make it clear contracts will be honoured, but Total is still waiting to hear from Indonesia's authorities about whether its contract to run an oil production block will be extended beyond 2017.
It's a similar message here for the banking sector. Investors are waiting to see what becomes of a bid by the Singaporean bank DBS for a majority stake in Indonesia's bank Danamon. The process has been dragging on, and that's partly because Indonesia wants the same access to overseas markets as foreign banks get here. Aburizal Bakrie says that's only fair, and it's a line that puts him on par with other presidential candidates.
Another hot political topic is the billions of dollars Indonesia now spends on giving its people cheap fuel. Aburizal Bakrie says the subsidised fuel policy has to go, even though last year his party blocked a bid to change it. This time, though, he's publicly met with President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, whose party, the Democrats, is yet to put up its presidential candidate.
So why don't we change a subsidy toward product becoming a direct subsidy? If we do that, we would have saved 200 trillion per year. Then we are able to develop infrastructure as the base for us for the next economic growth.
But Aburizal Bakrie faces a tough task to win people to his vision for Indonesia. He's down in the polls as a preferred presidential candidate.
Yeah, actually, Aburizal Bakrie is still struggling to get public support from Indonesian voters. Based on last survey we conducted in April 2013, Aburizal Bakrie just received around 8 to 9%.
A lot of the trouble he will have in convincing people lies here, an area devastated by a mudflow that many believe was caused by a company linked to the Bakrie family.
I think if Bakrie wants to be a president, go ahead, but people in East Java, we are not going to vote for him. When people see this incident, who wants to vote for him? He couldn't even take care of this small problem. How can he take care of a country?
The mud is still flowing since erupting out of the ground in 2006. Almost 40,000 people were displaced, 12 villages submerged and an industrial zone cut off. A court case found that the oil company that did the drilling wasn't at fault. The company says an earthquake hundreds of kilometres away triggered the eruption. However, the Bakrie business has paid out millions in compensation. There is a delay in the final payment though, and that's creating anger.
If he wants to be a president, if he doesn't pay for the other 20% of victims, we will not join the election. It's the commitment of the whole family.
It's all over the newspapers, it's all over the TV and radio stations, so it has become, in fact, a symbol of Bakrie's problems. And again, it compounds this image of a capitalist who is interested in pursuing business interests, but is not really well connecting with the ordinary Indonesians and their day-to-day problems.
It's a question the candidate is regularly asked about. He doesn't see it as a problem.
No, I'm not worried. Otherwise, my rating would not make it to the big four, sometimes in the big three, sometimes number one, sometimes number two. If Lapindo really has an impact, my rating would be dropped.
He is very pragmatic and rational, and I think he, now he is trying to, to campaign him, and very hard. But at the time, he has to decide whether run or not for the next election. And that's depend on his electability.
While Aburizal Bakrie is the Golkar Party candidate, the actual process where nominations are put to the Electoral Commission doesn't happen until May next year. Until then, though, Aburizal Bakrie is pushing hard to have the chance to lead the country, and the policy course he sets will be a part of the debate about the future of Indonesia.